Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Turbo Coin, ladies and gentlemen. It has been moving absolutely fantastic over the last 2 weeks, which is what we love to see, right? I overall expect good things from Turbo over the next few months. I am super, super high on this meme coin. I do believe this is one of those meme coins that is pretty much the best or up there for risk to reward. I'm also a fan of something like, Bonk, but I think Bonk, it might have slight less risk, slight, but the reward isn't, that isn't nowhere near of what Turbo can provide. If out of 10, let's say 0 is the lowest amount of risk and 10 is the most, if Bonk, let's just say, in the context of meme coins, was 1 out of 10 risk, Turbo would be something like 1.5 in my eyes, seriously, and maybe 2 if I was really being generous. But really, I don't feel any risk with this coin. I genuinely do feel that the risk is fairly low. But when it comes to reward, if let's just say Bonk had a risk of 1 out of 10, and the reward was hypothetically, let's just say 15 times, then something like Turbo, right? Even though it's in my eyes slightly riskier by just a little bit, the reward can be up to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 times, even more potentially 100 times, because you got to realize, ladies and gentlemen, 100x from here, if we actually pull it up, would be roughly 15 billion market cap. So that is the thing, right? I do believe this coin will create history when it comes to the meme coins. I've talked about how I do believe this coin, would be pushing for that top 5 spot. But then, of course, Trump and Milena came out, which, I mean, Trump is going to be solidified as a top 5 coin. Milena, you know, that coin is just going to be probably in the top 10, maybe sitting outside the top 10. So I believe we will be pushing into the top 10. It is going to be a close call overall, because if we go to the standings, right, if we go to cryptocurrencies, we go on meme coins, right, we can see that we are, we're not in the top 10 at the current moment, but I do think things will turn around. Even something like GigaChad, right, which I want to talk about just for 1 second, we are one rank below it, right, just by a little bit of market cap. But look at the volume. Look at the volume on GigaChad compared to Turbo. Um, right, it's really, really low. Really, really, really low. So I do believe there's going to be lots of money and volatility coming to Turbo over the next few months. And I do believe we will be hitting the top 10. I do believe something like Doge, Sheep, Pepe, Trump will probably have their spots solidified. Bonk, Farcoin, Flowkey are going to be the ones we're going to compete with and SPX. All the other ones I do believe we will surpass. Even probably Milena coin. The thing is, that coin, it also has institutional trading, so I believe it's going to do decent. But I do believe, something like Trump coin will do much better than Milena. Look, Peanut, remember Peanut was at 2 billion market cap. It is literally below us right now. Okay. Peanut also got listed on Robinhood. We're not on Robinhood, and Peanut is below us. So pay attention, people. Pay attention. All these coins that I used to talk about that are pretty much no goes, right? They are somewhere in the bottom. They're not doing so well. Sure, even something like Pengu, it was like a 3-4 billion market cap, and it's dropped a lot. It is literally in hell. There's no market, there's no charts to be looking back at, right? So to recover to those areas, it would take a lot. So be careful with certain coins. I will say with coin, I'm a little surprised that it hit, it got hit as bad as it did. But other than that, we've been pretty much on point with, calling out which meme coins are overall going to be good or very, very solid. So yeah, look, Turbo, absolutely believe in it. We will go back to it just for a second, and we will obviously dive into the charts. Like I said, 150 million market cap. We are 250th in the world. and we are, 30 million in volume last 24 hours. Guys, you also have to realize something, right? That 250 out of pretty much 10,000, meme coins means we're technically in the top 2.5%. And we will be climbing up the ranks. We've seen this coin go back to like 140, almost peak in the top 100. So I do believe we will become a 1% coin, which is very, very, very satisfying, right? In order to even get to a top 1% coin, if we go to something cryptocurrencies, we have to look at the market cap, and we can see, you know, at this current moment to get to top 100, it would take over, half a billion in market cap. The thing is, we've hit peaks of roughly what, like 800, 900 million. So hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, you know, if we did have that peak right now, we would be sitting somewhere in the 60th. Obviously, things will shuffle, right? Some things will drop, some things will rise. We are going to rise, other coins are going to rise, some other coins are going to drop. So, we'll see at the end of the day, what it will take to get in the top 100. But if we do become one of the biggest meme coins, which I do believe we will be smashing a lot of these coins. And even though a lot of these coins will be pumping, we probably will be chilling at one point somewhere between, 65th and 35th, right? So it sounds crazy now. But they call you crazy until it happens. And after that, they call you a genius. So yeah, just remember that. We do not have any new news from Turbo itself, but we will be diving into the charts. When it comes to the weekly candle, I overall do like it. Now, this isn't the most bullish. This is still very, very bullish, right? But, there may be a little bit of a pullback. If there were, I would be expecting a pullback maybe somewhere down to here, right? Before we pretty much go up again. However, if we do not break certain structure, right? If we do respect this structure over here and we continue climbing up, we do have all of this imbalance over here. So we should kind of climb up very, very quick after the 0.0022 area. We should kind of roughly climb up 10-12% quickly before we start slowing down. And even then, we only have a little bit of some type of structure because we still have all the way, we have all this imbalance up here too. So we could honestly fly high very, very quickly when the time comes, 16% once we get past 0.0022. So, that is why I expect a little bit of a pullback potentially before we just shoot up. All right, we can see that we are kind of fundamentally climbing up. Bitcoin has also gone up today, and we can see, right, if Bitcoin does continue to climb high upwards of, taking out all of these highs, of 88,000, so going up another 1,500, we could also see Bitcoin potentially, coming to retest these levels of 90 to 92,000, which is what we talked about last week. If that were the case, then I do believe Turbo will be hitting those zones we just talked about. And, it could very, very well come back to the 0.0024 area. So overall, very, very bullish still, right? Overall, very, very bullish. What we would love to see is just, a little bit of a pullback, kind of like we had here, just to spring up further to then reclaim and get past these highs, ladies and gentlemen, right? That is the next step. And of course, on the bigger picture, it is to start reclaiming this big zone on the weekly and of course the monthly, because once we flip that, once we reclaim that 100%, we are 100% bullish and we should never be dropping back down unless it is in the context of bear season. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.